All right, welcome to Between the Lines, fueled by Gatorade. My name is Gabe Henderson. That has been Lieber, and the Minnesota Vikings season ends today, January 15th, with a loss to the New York Giants. And Ben, we both just left the locker room. You could hear a pin drop in that locker room.
Yeah.
You've been in locker rooms where your season ended. And before we talk about what just transpired out there on the field, which it's not really much to talk about. How does a player feel right now in that locker room? Just understanding that you've been in situations like this in your NFL career.
You just feel, I think the best way to describe it is you're numb. You have so much hype and excitement, and that's not just from the week of prep, which this playoff week is just it's at a whole nother level when it comes to preparation and focus and feeling the intensity of the moment. But you're coming off 17 games where you just poured everything out, and you've been redlining your life. You're going 100 miles an hour at work, at practice, on game day, with your families and all that other stuff. And then to have that realization in the locker room that it's over.
Yeah.
Like tomorrow you're going to wake up and you're going to have an exit meeting. You're probably not going to break down the film. You're going to say goodbye probably to, a bunch of guys that, at the end of the day, at the end of the offseason, you may never see again.
Yeah.
You may never be teammates again. And so there's a numbness to the moment, and then tomorrow there's a heaviness to the moment of that the season really is over. And when everybody comes back in April, the team's going to look different, and it's going to feel different.
Yeah, and that's something that Kevin O'Connell said in the locker room when he was addressing the team. He said, after I break this team down, guys, look everybody in their eyes and make sure you tell them you love them, because this may be the last time you play with these guys or see the guy next to you. And just understanding that, I remember vividly, I'll never forget this picture, Adam Thielen, just standing with his pads on in the locker room by himself, just looking around. I'm like, he did everything he could. This offense did everything they could today. And when you look at their performance, you say, okay, you put up 24 points. You got over 300 yards of total offense. What else could the offense have done today from your perspective?
I mean, I guess now that the game's over, score another touchdown and hopefully a 2-point conversion.
Right,
I mean,
right.
we were hoping that it wasn't going to come down to the defense having to step up. The offense has been stepping up all season long. Look, the offensive line did a great job. We knew that this is a blitzing defense, that they gave us problems in the first game on Christmas Eve, and not that Kirk was clean the whole game. Mm-hmm. I mean, he got hit a couple times, had to scramble for his life a little bit, but 0 sacks given up. I would not have put that bet on the table before the game starts if we were going to walk away from this game and we were going to have they're going to have 0 sacks against us. So, I thought that was a positive. I thought the way that we used Justin Jefferson after we saw some of the bracket coverage and the double coverage on the second and third layer of the defense, getting T.J. Hawkinson involved, like all those little coaching nuances, the adjustments, the way we were able to use Hawkinson for 3 receptions in the first half and then come back with 7 huge receptions in the second half, although that last one.
That's one that you don't want him to
catch.
That
last one, the 3-yard gain on 4th and 8. But I just thought that there was a really smart play calling by head coach Kevin O'Connell throughout the whole game, especially in the second half. But again, the offense had to carry this team again, and it was just one drive too short, and the game ends on a check down on 4th and 8.
Defensively, where do you go from here?
I mean,
I know it's a loaded question, very loaded.
Well, I hate to put this vibe out there, but this defense almost needs a whole revamp, a total evaluation of is this the scheme for us? Is a 3-4 scheme, a 3-4 base scheme, is this the scheme for us? If it is, do we need to really evaluate who fits best in the 3-4 scheme and what we're trying to do with our defensive philosophy? Now, that goes from the defensive line to the linebackers to the guys in the secondary, and it goes to the play caller as well. We can't shy away from the fact that it is unacceptable to have this bad of a defense. It is absolutely unacceptable. If you think that you're going to cross your fingers and hope your way to winning games and winning playoff games and eventually winning a Super Bowl, you're lying to yourself and you're being delusional. So the reality is this defense I believe in the next couple of days there will be probably some sort of announcement being made, whether it's changes at the top, changes within, or eventually, when it comes to players, we're going to hear about player changes and player acquisitions when free agency starts.
Well, speaking of players, there's still players in this locker room that you can build this franchise on. Justin Jefferson is one.
Absolutely.
Cam Bynum, who we just talked to in the locker room, is another. That's just my opinion. Just the adversity he had to deal with coming in as a cornerback, moving to safety. Then Lewis Cine gets drafted. And I think Lewis Cine is going to have a phenomenal career here as a Minnesota Viking. But understanding that, he would have to compete, I feel like he's a guy that you can honestly build on the defensive side of the ball. What else does this Minnesota Vikings team, I guess, what other positives does this Minnesota Vikings team have to build on for the future?
We mentioned JJ. I mean, Kirk's going to be around. There's no reason why. I mean, we should never think about a quarterback change. I mean, Kirk played amazing this year. He had an NFL record, eight game-winning drives in the fourth quarter. I mean, he was unbelievable. I know statistically people are going to look at where he was in the last couple of years, but when it comes to gameplay and winning games for this team, he was phenomenal. Christian Darrisaw. We think we all found a true cornerstone of this offensive line, and we know that when Brian O'Neill gets back and healthy, which he will be next season, we get two really good stud pro guys on the outside, and then what are we going to do with KJ Osborne? What are we going to do with Adam Thielen? TJ Hawkinson, he's a guy. I think he's got 1 year left in this contract. He'll be around. He's a huge addition to this offense. And we've got some guys on defense. Zadarius, I mean, played well. Daniil, at times he had kind of a roller coaster year, but at the end of the year he was double-digit sacks.
What have you done for me lately?
He was a difference maker. He was disruptive. So we have some guys on defense, but like I said earlier, we're going to have to really evaluate every position on this defense, in considering the scheme that they're going to use. Yeah,
I mean that's the bad thing I hate about the offseason is that it's so long. There's so much speculation, so many rumors. You have so much time to think. It's like all of us are in our room just coming up with all these different scenarios. But the next thing is the combine, and the next thing is the NFL draft.
Yeah.
When you look at positions of need, I don't want to talk too far ahead, but positions of need, do you think the Vikings will be aggressive this offseason, or do we still have a lot of players that we can just build on and hopefully make that next step in their career?
I hope that we're aggressive. I think every fan base wants their team to be aggressive in free agency. I think that we need to, this team has always needed extra corners, whether it's because of injury or whatnot, but I still think that we should look at adding some corners. I still think that we need to look at adding some defensive line help, whether it's depth or, maybe some guys that can really be an intimidating factor on the inside part of this defensive line. You'd mentioned the safety situation. I think we're pretty solid there. And then obviously we're going to take a look at, our offensive line. Every team is going to have areas of need to upgrade, and we're no different than them.
I want to end this thing on a positive note simply because this was a 13-win team. Kevin O'Connell, Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, they came here in February, and they had this grand vision for what this Minnesota Vikings team could be. I know it did not end the way that we wanted it to, but the fact that we can hang our heads high, understanding that this is a team that has been battle-tested, and we've been to the playoffs, and we know what it feels like to get here, I think that gives Vikings fans a lot to look forward to the future. Would you agree?
Oh, 100%. I mean, it's tough right now because the wound is so raw, and we're all hurting right now, expecting to win this game and play the San Francisco 49ers next week. But there is a lot of hope, and you know this from being a former player. Really, at any level, at any sport, the coach wants a buy-in. They want a sense of buy-in, that the players are going to look at what they're implementing and say, I believe in that guy. Yeah. This team absolutely believes in what head coach Kevin O'Connell is building. So I think if there's hope right there, that's it. Yeah. This team is bought in. They're bought into this new change. They're bought into all this stuff. Yeah. So that's what I'm most excited about. And again, just add some pieces here and there, and look forward to 2023.
Looking forward to it. Phenomenal job this year by you.
Man.
This was a lot of fun. Between the lines every week, win, lose, or draw. Well, we didn't have any draws. This was a lot of fun just being able to talk Vikings, being on a couple of podcasts. Thoroughly appreciate you. Vikings fans appreciate you also.
Thank you.
And Vikings fans, we appreciate you for tuning in every single game, screaming to the top of your lungs every single home and away game, win or lose. We just want to thank you, and stay tuned to Vikings.com because the team and the season may be over, but the content does not stop. So for Ryan O'Neal, who does a phenomenal job behind the camera, Ben Lieber, my name is Gabe Henderson. Thank you again for tuning into another edition, the final edition of the 2022 season of Between the Lines, fueled by Gatorade.